Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for coming to the channel today. I'm going to be speaking to a pretty cool guest of mine. I met Mr. Rory Sanders a few months back. He works for a title company with Alamo out in Texas, out in North Texas. And he's come across, I guess it just started something that was very unique. And he sent me a story. He's about 45, 46 years old. And he decided he needed to go back to school. And on top of that, why not play lacrosse with his son and his other son, who's a coach on the team at North Texas? So you're going to hear from Rory Sanders the story about how a 45, 46-year-old guy is playing some club lacrosse out in North Texas. So hopefully enjoy this conversation, right? Of your 45-year-old man, right?
Right.
And all of a
Yeah.
sudden we see this, who's this guy playing what at North Texas? Uh, this guy's all of a sudden playing lacrosse and he's a goalie. Take us
Right.
back to what is the thought process and like how did this all happen and begin?
Oh man, if I could take it back to the original. Oh, I didn't finish college, right? And it's been one of those things it's a black cloud over your head because it's not necessarily do I think that college is for everybody, right? And I'm not saying that everyone should go to college. I'm not saying all my kids are in college or going. I'm not saying that that's for everybody. And I'm not saying you can't be successful without it. And I feel like I'm pretty successful in my career.
Mhm.
But it's been that like I didn't finish that thing that I wanted to do, and some life things happened, right? And there's been attempts to get back to college and finish, but just timing just wasn't there. Now that my boys are in, well, one's graduated, one's in college, and I got one that's a sophomore in high school. I did some classes online that was through Google, and when I finished, and I knocked it out. Man, it was supposed to be a 6 month. They were like 3 to 6 months is what the timeline was. I knocked it out in the month. It was
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
And so I was like, that really wasn't that hard. I feel like learning at this age I feel like this learning is what I want to do because I
Mhm.
feel like I want to know more. And so I was like, oh, that's not too bad. So I finished, I got the certificate, and it dropped to like another pop up. So I'm like, hey, by the way, this certificate gives you this many credit hours in these list of colleges.
Okay.
And it was a short list of six of them. One of them was UNT, which is right 10 minutes. My kid goes to school there, and I'm looking at it and going, call my wife. I
Oh.
said, or yeah. So I'm like, it's right there. And I said, wouldn't that be funny if I went back to school? And she goes, why would you do that? I'm like, the prices are right. It's all online. It's considered full time. And I said, something I could knock out in a couple of years. Actually, the way it's set up, I could probably do it in a year based on the college credits I already have. And so she's, let me just think about it. And then I made a call the next day and I said, does this make me a full-time student for campus? Because this is a global kind of program that they have there. And they said, yeah, you could have access to the campus, all the stuff, everything. They're like, okay. So I tell her, and I'm telling her in front of my son who's there, he's always got a lacrosse stick in his hand anyways. He's standing there messing with his stick. And he goes, it'd be funny if you're full time, that means you could play lacrosse with this. And it was like he laughed and she laughed and I laughed and we all laughed and we're like, ha, that's funny. And then we walked away and I said, that's true, I could play. And he goes, yeah, okay, that's funny. I was like, I'm gonna do this anyway. So we just signed up. So this the story, the headline kind of makes it feel like I did this to go play lacrosse. That is not, that's the furthest thing. I'm doing this to finish something I should have done a long time ago.
Okay.
So I went to the school, I signed up. There was a process in getting all the paperwork done, transfer credits, and at some point you have to apply. And I was like, I wonder if they would take me. So I stressed over that. I had to take some math assessment over again, which I passed that, which made it better so I didn't have to do math over again. We fast forward and it was like it started getting real. And I was like, am I going to do this lacrosse thing? And now my boys, both my boys, we don't know because it's really hard, Dad. I said,
And you're
also,
old, dad, right?
yeah, yeah. If they're treating me the way I treated my dad, it'd be like,
Mhm.
it starts making me angry because I'm like, I'm I know I'm older and I've definitely aged in some areas that they just don't understand, but some of that's in wisdom. So I was like, I can outrun most of your team anyways. I go to the practices already. The whole idea was like I could sign up for any club there, but I'm already going to the games anyways. I'm
Mm,
traveling with you. I'm going to your practices because I'm doing like some of the filming on their shorts and stuff and their reels. And I was like, if I'm already there, I might as well grab a stick and play, even if I just practice. And wow, just come out and try it out and see if you like it
mhm,
and see if the team fits you and all this stuff. Because we wanted a cohesive team. And that's what my son Ethan wanted, is a kind of a cohesive team. I was like, all right, that's what I'll do. They already had all positions set. We fast forward to like the first practice in January, is like the middle of January, and I was like, and I get there and it's raining, it's cold, and I show up and I got borrowed gear, and I'm like, so what do I do? And they had already posted 3 days before that there was goalie tryouts on their Instagram, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought you already had a goalie. Two, if you have a position open, I thought that was my position. So my son says to me, everyone has to try out. No one's guaranteed anything, not even dad. No one's, you don't just get a job, right? You have to try out. Now, are you kidding me? I thought I was just going to get what I wanted. No, nope, you have to try. It was like 2 days later, I tried out. I scrummed up some gear and I went in. And the first day was conditioning training, man. And I was like, they're they conditioned hard that first day, and we were in a parking garage because it was raining, and I think that they ran hard just because they knew I was coming. They got done, and like none of those teams, they just, because I'm there all the time, so they know who I am. I don't think anybody knew I was there doing that. They just thought
mm,
I just showed up they literally thought I showed up just to work out with them.
'kay.
And we got done. Hey guys, this is our new goalie. And I was like, so I got the job? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, and everyone on the team was like, they were excited about it.
Okay.
And they were like super excited about it, which my thought process is they're going to take this as, no way, we're not having this joke. Our program is a serious program. We don't want this joke. So in my mind, it always leaned toward this is a gimmick. It's a joke. We don't want to be any part of it. We're going to play, then we're going to get to teams and they're going to play us and they're going to be like, we don't even want to play you. We're going to cancel our schedule, like playing against you, because you're bringing this old guy. You're not taking it seriously. So we're not going to play you, is what I thought was going to happen. And so I think that was a little bit of the kind of a, when your mind kind of runs, right? You go through the comments, you don't look at the comments to look at the good things about you, look at the ones that say that are bad things. So my mind was running that way, but the team liked me. So I was like, hey, if you guys are cool with it, and they asked me to say something to the team in the beginning, and I just told them, I was like, look, I'm not here to embarrass anybody. I'll work as just as hard or more than anybody here to get up to speed. I'm here for A's and W's. And if you guys want W's, then I'm for it. I'm going to work hard. And they were cool with it. But I think in the back of my mind, even from then, it was like, I hope I'm not embarrassing anybody
Mm,
about this.
mhm,
I do. That's the thing. It's like my son is pretty good, and he's one of the shooters on the team, and my son coaches well the defense, and they're much better now having a defensive coach there. But I just didn't want to take any light away from their efforts, right? Because as a parent, I
mhm,
want them to succeed. On the flip side, when we started playing, I was like the first actual run as a parent who's never played before, and having those conversations post game when like losses usually, but sometimes wins. I'm like, when you did this, why didn't you do it this way? And we're yelling, run faster, or throw it there, or stop it here, whatever it is. We've always had that do it this way, right? And then the first thing we come out of practice out of those six drills, we're like, it's different, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, it's totally different. It's so much faster being in the mix. And I think one of the reason he said that is I was being covered. I was being double teamed, and we always give him, hey, if you're double teamed, that means the guy's open, right? So just dump it to the open guy. I got double teamed and I lost the ball. And he comes up to me in practice. He goes, it's different, isn't it? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I was wide open. You had two. Why don't you just throw it to me? And I was
mhm.
like, oh, eating no words, but
Kinda feel like,
he's been
gotcha,
a
right?
good, yeah, he did 100%. I was like, I'm gonna get some IQ
Mhm,
out of this. But the defensive guys that I work with, they're always like, hey, when this happens, make sure you do this. And these game situations are something to just have to, man, I can't make up for 15 years of not playing,
Mm.
right? That
So
these guys have been playing a while.
yeah, so you never played lacrosse before.
No,
It was never a
this is
thing,
the first time.
and that's what's fascinating to me. It's, "Hey, so I'm signing up to go to college, get all my
Yeah.
stuff done." Oh, and your son's a coach, correct? Your son's
Yes.
a co is he
Yes.
coaching and playing or just coaching?
He's just coaching.
And then you have another son that's playing.
Yes. He's coaching.
So you
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
see your boys now a
That's
couple days
yes. It's
more a week in a way.
yeah. So here's what I get to see him. I get to see him because they both live here until next week. One of them's leaving, but we carpool to practice all week. Then when we get to practice, offense goes here, defense goes there. I get goalie coach. So for 2 hours, we don't really get to see each other.
Mm.
We're in the mix.
So you're
So
like a
you do get,
punter in the NFL, like you're off to the
yeah.
side doing your own thing?
Oh yeah. They said, oh yeah, special teams take laps. I got
Okay.
it.
Right.
So yeah, it was. I would be the punter that always gets hit with the ball if that's what the punters
Mm,
do. So
mhm.
the bruising is. I don't know if you like see the bruising on
Yeah.
the lights really give, but it really the idea is to stop it in any way you possibly can at all, whatever means necessary. So I'm not gonna say I'm definitely not the best goalie. I don't know if I'm the worst. I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest. That's how that works.
I
So
would think you're the oldest, right?
I don't even know if like where I rank as far as age with all of sports. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's a statistic for that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I was totally unaware. This is like on the club level, correct?
Yes.
And
So the MCLA, what I read is the largest non-varsity club organization in the country.
yeah. So there's some
So
different rules behind that where it's more open with age, obviously.
yes. Yeah, I don't know if there's an age limit on NCAA or not, or other clubs. There's no age limit, but you do still have you burn your eligibility. If I had played before, I get so many years to play again. So I
Mhm.
never played college sports.
Okay.
You have to be enrolled full time. I don't believe there's I don't know if there's grade requirements. That might be an overlay at the school level
Mhm.
opposed to the club itself, but I qualified. It's like they double, triple checked and are like, hey, there's nothing that says you can't.
Was
Oh,
it ever was did you ever feel like, is this because I'm thinking when I was a kid, my mind just went back to school with Rodney Dangerfield, right? I don't know if you
yes.
remember
Okay,
seeing
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
right?
kind of know your age at
Yeah,
that
but he
point. Yeah,
was what,
because
70, 80 or whatever.
yeah, yeah, the swim team.
Swim team.
He's like
Dive
going to do
diving.
the triple dive or something.
Triple lending, I think it was called, right?
Yeah, yeah. There was
Yeah.
another what was another one though? It was the back to school and then people were given some old school reference, yeah, but
Mhm.
oh my goodness, there was another one that was in the 80s about going back to school. But
Yeah.
yeah, Rodney Dangerfield was the one that came to my mind because of the fact that he was in sports. But
Mhm.
I was like, but we don't have any animosity between the kids or anything yet. But the best thing we have is at games like you, my son will come up to me and, hey, don't worry about it. That goals are going to happen. There was nothing you could do. Like the best goalies could have never stopped that.
Mhm.
So a
Mhm.
couple times that's happened. I do have some. My first game was I had a 60% save ratio. I think is what they had. I think that even those guys, a couple of those guys knew that I was older and unexperienced, and I think they were a little surprised. I want to say they were a little surprised that they didn't get most of them in. And then the second game was against, I think they took, I don't know if that was just a team attitude, but I felt like the second team that we played didn't really put a lot of respect into what we were doing. They still beat us by 5. It should have probably doubled that
Mhm.
easily, but we didn't play very well, and neither did they, but they still won. We played yesterday against Texas State, and I think man, probably my favorite game to date. I think I stopped 15 out of 30 30 like actual shots on me that were like could go in. I stopped half of them.
Mhm.
But I guess they in the goalie world, they count every shot as a shot, whether
Okay.
they could shoot it out and it counts as part of the percentage. So
Yeah.
you imagine, yeah, if you're not swinging right and you're just like throwing them balls and it's like it's just a shot. It's like this isn't fair. Like how does that get counted against me? I
Right.
didn't save it. It was like 5 feet off the cage, but that's how they got to count them somehow.
I'm curious about we're talking about lacrosse, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
our mental edge parents are in the baseball world, right? So I know there's some
Yeah.
similarities to some things here, but I'm
Yeah, and there's
curious.
some divide too, I think. I've seen some stuff about they don't I don't know if necessarily those 2 sports like each other very much. I don't know.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
I'm curious about with you as a goalie, being the older guy, right? The dad figure, if you will. Are you talking trash to these guys? Are you lighting these guys up?
Oh, I'm not a very good trash talker. Man, I don't know, like, they haven't been if they were mouthy to me first, I probably would. I haven't had anybody, like, trash talk me
So
yet.
they're
I
all
don't know if they
being
just
respectful, huh?
I don't know if they're being
Respecting their
respectful.
elders.
I think there was this one guy, I'm just being as nice. I'm like, "I'm just
Yeah.
playing a game. It's fun for me." This one shot when it was, like, 10 feet high, and I was just like, "Oh, man, that was a little high." And then
Mm,
he goes, "Yeah, I was a little high." And then his next time he got the ball, he shot it they call it the 5 hole right between my legs. He goes,
mhm.
"That one it went in." And he goes, "That was a little low, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Uh,
Yeah.
gotcha." But it
Yeah.
is, like, it's hard to see since my son plays midfield, he does a lot of running, and so I'll get to see him, and if somebody's really, like, giving him just goes back to parenting, right? "Hey, that's my boy. What are you doing?" And if a guy is really giving him a hard time and they get too close to me, I do try to make an effort to make his life a little more difficult on
Really?
the
So you
field.
take a little
So,
little personal when it's
yeah, I probably
going on
shouldn't.
there.
I probably should yeah, I probably should keep my head in the game a little better, but, oh, there was this is about as bad as it gets. There was a kid last night on their team who'd never scored, and he was one of they had like 30 on their roster or more. There was a whole stack. We had 1 sub. And they were already up like 6 or 7 on us. It was like 2 minutes left. They got this kid in there, and he tried to score on me, and I didn't let it happen. And one of the guys goes, "Hey, man, these guys like new. Just let them." I said, "Listen, dude, half your team has scored on me by now."
Mm,
I said, and he was right in front of me, and I stopped his shot pretty easily. It was like, oh, it was easy.
mhm,
And I said, listen, he's lucky that I didn't lay him out because he was about a head shorter than me. And I clearly knew just by the way he was standing that it's like he probably has not been like not super athletic. He's learning, and I'm super happy that he can go into a team, sign up, and come. And I think that's what's great about the club sport level
mm,
is you don't have to be some scholarship athlete. You can just have a love for the game. You may not play, but you can be part of a team. You can come in, and you can play. And if these guys are run up, right, they're like now at this time they're like 7 up on us, and he's getting play.
mm.
Like who can go home and like afterwards, like I played lacrosse in college or I played a sport in college. And you may have not have played, but you got to be on a team and practice and develop a skill. But yeah, I told him, I said, he's just lucky he didn't get laid out because anyone else standing right there in practice, I will lay him out.
And when you say layout, like in lacrosse, you can take your stick and give him a little.
Yeah, he can extend, right? You can come in. I would just bodied him. He
Okay,
was my
you push him out
size.
of the way in a way, basically.
Oh yeah. He was flat-footed, and I saw him that he was flat-footed, and I would just run right through him. I'm 200 pounds. That guy was probably like maybe 150.
Yeah,
Then like
yeah.
here. So but I was like, I'm just gonna stop the shot. I said, I can't like my mind says I can't, I don't care. I didn't even let my kids beat me when they were younger. That was like the thing. I was like, hey, I'm not gonna boost your ego, but I'm gonna let them be better by trying to beat me. And so when they
Right.
start beating me, then that's when I try to stop playing them as much. Oh,
Yeah.
they're getting better.
I
It's like
know.
you don't need
I
me anymore.
I'm thinking of too right now, one of my favorite movies as growing up was Billy Madison, right? He's out
Yeah, yeah.
in recess, and he's just smoking these kids with the
Yes.
with the dodgeball.
Oh my goodness, it was that other one, Happy Gilmore. I was like, "You know what I need to do?" I asked my coach about this, like, "Should I go to a batting cage and just stand in front of the baseballs? Should I just stand there and just
Learn how to
get hit?"
react or whatever, or
Yeah, because I really want more reps, and, like, the only way to get reps is to have, like, someone with you as a
mm,
partner. I think it's one of the tougher positions is, like, I need someone with me shooting on me or doing something. And so even some of the reaction stuff, and you could probably give me tips on this is how do I increase my reaction time about seeing and moving? One of the guys that's helping with the goalie coaching is he played baseball at UTSA. I
mhm,
think he was UTSA. But he's a baseball guy. And he was giving me tips like, hey, when major league baseball players are swinging, they're initiating their swing as the guy's winding up. So they're getting ready and they're making adjustments as it's coming. And so when he was showing me that, I was like, "Oh, so I initiate my steps and on these things I'm doing, I just make adjustments as the ball's coming." And so that's where I think that was super helpful,
Mm,
for me. It's like relating a baseball to lacrosse is like the seeing a ball come at you. And like
mhm.
in baseball, like if the ball's coming at you, you wanna move, right? But the difference is like I have to get in the way. So it's about the same.
Yeah.
I don't have a ball
But yeah,
around
that
here.
my mind goes to here with, like, a lot of the kids I work with, they're scared of the ball, and especially those young ages,
Yeah,
like 8 to
yeah,
11, roughly, and
yeah,
their first move is get out of there,
yeah,
whereas which it makes it obviously really difficult to hit, right? First
yeah.
instinctive move is, "I'm not safe, let's get out of dodge here."
The mind's not in like, your mind should be like, attack the ball, right?
Attack,
And now
yeah,
it's yeah, but that's the natural instinct, I think. I don't mind a little pain, it doesn't bother me. I think I don't know, I'm a protector, and you have a family, right? You just feel like
yeah, yeah.
I'm a little pain for a little bit, doesn't really I've been through a lot of pain in the past, so I just came off a bike crash in July that was about at least roughly in the high 20 mile an hour. I think it was my Garmin recorded about 26, 27 miles an hour
Hmm,
and I broke my helmet in half. I thought I broke my hip, road rash all over. It was about 6 miles from home. I just went ahead and rode home, and then my wife drove me to the hospital, and
oh,
I was like,
jeez.
yeah, I was like, "No broken bones, no, like, just" they go, "Yeah, I just got really bad road rash." I'm like, "How am I
Uh,
supposed to tell my friends that, like, I cracked my helmet in half and
yeah,
there's no injuries? I have no injuries to show for this."
mm,
And I'm like, "Just the road rash." But it was just, you know, pain is, and then I raced, in September, um, the road bike championship. I didn't do too well. Just those types of things, losing makes me wanna try harder. And I
interesting,
don't
yeah,
know if
yeah.
and I don't know if trying harder at my age is gonna be fruitful or not, but I will probably be the best 46-year-old in the league.
Right.
So
Well,
that's the goal.
tell us what you do for a living, and how is this affecting now you're talking about kind of the work-life balance, right, along now with
Yeah.
school and then playing lacrosse, and how long does that go for?
Yeah, so the work is so I'm in a sales role at a title company here in DFW. So I work for Alamo Title, and my job is to drive business, real estate business to the title company, right? So the what hasn't really been if I had to say the toughest part of that is having longer physical days, right? Of like
Mhm,
getting into the full day of work. And if you're in a sales environment, the working doesn't really stop. It's not an 8 to 5, right?
sure.
You just use work. Like I was answering texts today and it's Sunday, Saturdays, evenings. When people are buying and selling homes, it's not like 8 to 5, right? People are wanting to look at homes on a Saturday with open houses and things like that. And evenings, if real estate agents have questions or lenders have questions, I'm always available. But I that part of it has not been really not much adjustment in that work piece, right? It's been adding into that school element. It was like, hey, when I get off of work, it's like school mode. So switching like that mindset of like, all right, work is done, right? Work is done for the day. I'm going to go into school mode. I got to either read a book or chapter or something like that, and then go into like tests, quizzes, and so I do that. So those are the two things. Like I have to supply like resources for my family, which is like
Mhm,
the work. And then I go into right into school because that's what I've committed to doing. And then as soon as that hour window of after work to school and the phone rings and I'm sitting on the computer here and typing up an essay or whatever, and then it's already 6:30. Let me change my shoes, grab my bag, and we're out the door. And at this point, I haven't really seen or talked to my wife or my daughter yet, or
mm,
even my boys, right?
okay.
To go to practice, and then we run through those things. I found that not carpooling is probably going to be better for me, actually, because if I carpool with them, my boys tend to stay and talk to the team a little longer than
Yeah,
I probably should.
right.
But then after that, then I come home. If I have any school left, I'll wrap up that, and then by that time, I get to talk to my wife and my daughter. But I have said this: I spend a lot less time on anything that involves TV or YouTube or things like that. I've noticed that, like, during the day, because some of that stuff's kinda like part of my job, the social media and marketing and things like that. But when I sit down and we're going to bed, there's not, "Hey, let's turn on the TV and kind of veg out for a minute and then go to bed." I don't have a whole lot of that anymore. I have a very small amount of time to make this time count,
Mm.
right? With talking to my wife or my daughters, and so making sure that works. Does that kinda make sense? Is we're
Yeah.
just making sure that we're connecting. I
Mhm.
don't have time for these things that are not necessary anymore. It
Yeah.
was hard at first, but then I started replacing some of that. So I think that there's some adjustments, right? So there's tuning, fine tuning. So we're fine tuning some things, getting some days off. Spring break's coming up, so that's gonna be helpful. But adding too much to my plate was a fear of mine, actually.
Yeah.
So,
And how old's your
and I've
daughter?
got a she is 15, she'll be 16 in May,
Mhm.
and then she brings up the car conversation, I'm like, "Ah, I gotta start thinking about that." So,
You need that
uh
NIL, that was an NLI deal or NIL deal.
yeah, NIL, yeah. It's funny, so somebody had posted on X that I was using secondhand equipment. A group of guys that I had met, or through a guy that was at one of my games,
Mhm.
and they posted on X that I was using secondhand, which is true. I had gloves and a helmet because it came with registration dues. The gloves didn't. I had to buy those, and I got a sweet deal from a local shop here, Team Lax. But when they posted on there, Warrior is one of the companies. It's like hockey and I think base. Do they do baseball stuff? I know hockey for sure, hockey and lacrosse, right? And then they sent me a whole like box full of stuff.
Mm.
Hey, here's everything else you need. So I will say this about your baseball, about the kids. When I got the safety equipment that Warrior sent me, my confidence level went way up
Hmm.
for playing. Like the shorts they sent me they're still like you can still move in them, but when I got hit by the ball the first time in those shorts and it didn't hurt at all, I maybe just compared to, like, my thighs are completely bruised, right?
Mhm.
So, and when I got those shorts, I was like, I'm taking direct hits to my thighs, and they're just bouncing off. So I think that kinda helps with the confidence level. If kids get hit with a ball, then you're like, "Oh, yeah, it hurt. It didn't hurt that much." And so
Mhm.
now I understand the feeling. So when that equipment came up, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness this is here because that made a world of difference. And those guys were awesome for that. And they had another guy out of New York sent me a stick and a bunch of hat and stuff. I was like, everyone for the most part in the community has been super respectful, supportive, all of those things. There's been a few though that have been like, it's dumb. But then that's probably the other thing. Someone had said, "Oh, this guy's old. He can deal with the criticism." I was like,
Right.
I don't know." Like,
So what kind of criticism are you getting?
some people are just you can tell that people have zero creativity in the thought. But on the field, just a couple people are like, "Oh, so you're going for your master's?" Like, "No, just a bachelor's, man." You
Mhm.
don't realize that was another guy was like, "Hey," picking on me for having kids when I was a kid. There was a couple of comments about being a 45-year-old with a 23-year-old, right?
Mhm.
But I was like, "Ah, whatever," because they don't know what it was like 23 years ago, right?
Mhm.
That wasn't uncommon for 20 somethings to have kids, right? At that age. Nowadays, I guess it's not as common. And then a couple of them are like lacrosse isn't a real sport, or he's washed up, or I was like, how can you be washed up? I never started. And here's the thing. End of the day, a lot of the comments I feel like that are there are from people that are probably eating their Doritos off a lazy boy,
Mhm.
right? And they're just making comments off of doing nothing. Maybe they are doing something, but my thought is I only get one run at this life. I get one shot. It's not like I said, "Hey, I want to make a lacrosse career." I'm just saying, "Hey, this sounds like something that is would be fun and a good thing to do with me and my kids, and we're all going to be there anyway. It just worked out." Why would I just say, "No, that's not for me. I'm too old." I have several friends that played football and when they were younger and or whatever sport, whatever physical sport. Now they get over like they make these jokes and you've probably seen them on Instagram or hey, what your bones sound like when you're over 30 or what it's like being over 40, right? And they have these stereotypes and going
Mhm.
like, yeah, my shoulder might pop in and out of place occasionally.
Mm,
because of a bike injury. Why do I have to say I'm too old for something? Oh,
yeah.
that's reserved for different people. Why can't I do it? Why can't I just have why can't I have the experience?
Mhm.
So that was I think one guy recently was just this is why what did he say? I'd have to paraphrase it, but just recently on the post, he goes, "This is was it lacrosse isn't a real sport. This is why this is a joke. This is why I believe lacrosse is a joke, right? And club sports are a joke because the only real sports are varsity sports." When I was like, wait a minute, are you attacking lacrosse or varsity sports or not? I don't understand because the fact that somebody's doing something makes more sense than someone doing nothing and watching people play sports. Because if so, he's saying that someone who has no legs shouldn't do anything, or should they join a, if they wanted to play basketball, they could join a wheelchair league,
Mhm.
right? So a
Mhm.
guy with you've seen it out there, the stories like someone that doesn't have arms is in bow hunting. Why are we reserving certain things for certain people when
Mm.
we just need to make it accessible? This is right. You know what I'm saying? It was just really an unconstructive comment, and I wanted to respond to it. And that's really the only one I really wanted to respond to. But I feel like that's probably the oldest guy on the field anytime that we play is that I do give some a certain level of I don't know, I what would you call it? Hey, if I'm here, I can't be beating kids up,
Mhm.
yelling at them, throwing them down, calling them names, and then it's just it's and that's not me anyway, but if I was that dad that was going out there and just like all when I'm not in peak physical shape either, but if I was, and I was just was something like UFC fighter, and I'm gonna own you guys. Think if I was like professional lacrosse player and it's you know what? I retired from the professional lacrosse. I'm gonna go back to school, get my degree, and play clubs just so I can own everybody. Like that's not what we're trying to do here. I'm just really trying to one play with my kids, and it evolved into a bit of an ambassador of hey, people need to know that the sport is good for kids. It's fun. It's physical without having to with injuries to be minimum, right? Like we're not tackling people. We are mugging people as we go down the if you've ever
Little
seen one,
checks,
it's yeah,
right?
checks, but yeah, that's I don't know, this is a long way to get to
I'm a
your
little curious
question.
about, like, looking from the outside, right? And, oh, this guy joins up and he starts playing lacrosse, and his boys just happen to be there. So I'm curious about what are your boys' thoughts about, okay, now dad's here. Is it do they have any thoughts like, "Hey, I just wanna play this and then have my own life and enjoy this experience by myself," or is
No,
there
yeah.
something different? "Hey, dad's a
That
part of this.
was
This is amazing."
no, like, it that was my concern, which was like a was that like the imposter syndrome that I was having is I don't wanna take away from their experience, and that was a kind of a big deal for me, and then I did confront them about it, like,
Mhm,
before as I'm like, I'm a week into practice, and I sat them down, I was like, "Hey, if this is something that's gonna distract you guys from what you guys wanna do, just let me and I won't do it.
mhm,
I won't do it." But they're like, "No, we want you to be there. As a matter of fact, you're better than the other goalie we had. We need you there
mhm. So
because
we
our
want
other
the
goalie."
W's, and you're better than
And then he goes, "You're progressively getting better every time.
Mm,
We really need you there if that means anything." So we're a pretty close family though. We have a good relationships with all of our kids. I had a friend tell me a long time, I was like, there's a seasons of life in your kids when you're raising them, they're like completely dependent and they're just babies. They cannot survive without you helping them. They can't feed themselves. They can't do anything. You have to teach them to walk, and then they get older, and you have to guide them, maybe make some corrections and different things. And then you're guiding them through high school and say, hey, this is how the learning process. And then eventually they're adults, and this is
yeah,
where they're at. And we're developing a different relationship with my kids at this point. They're sharing information with me, and I'm still we're befriending each other. And to me, that was a success for me and my wife as parents. Is
mm,
we're not just we're a unit now that we're friends, and we're still the parents, right? But everyone has their thing. I always admired those the kids with dads that always had those quick sayings and those little quips that they always had. Does a chicken have lips and those types of things. Like, man, I wish I was that quick. I didn't grow up that way.
little jokes, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, I wasn't that way, but I think that they like it. They enjoy it. I enjoy it. That one thing I have to do is when I'm standing in this cage and I'm watching them do their thing. I have to remember for me, I can't watch them. I have to be 100% attentive to what my job is.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to be careful not to watch, oh man, that was awesome.
Mm.
Or, but yeah, just be in my position. But I think it's fine that they haven't complained about it and I haven't embarrassed them yet. Yesterday we got in at 2 a.m. this morning on Sunday from the game. So we didn't have anybody watch our dogs. So after the game was at 7, it was a 4-hour drive from San Marcos back home. So the game was at 7 and ended at 9:30, and then we drove back home. My son that plays, he stayed overnight, and they were. My wife said the sidelines too, and I just told my son, I said, "Listen, I know you're staying. I know you're with the team. All I'm telling you is I don't need to know everything that happens because this is where the team dynamic changes because I'm dad. And
Mhm.
I'm like, and they're wanting me to stay with the team. I'm like, listen, I am not in that world with you guys. I want to be a team player and I want to whatever, but I'm like, I can't go out with you because there's two dynamics. I'm the oldest guy there, and they're all going to look at me if something goes south. They're like, you were there. And two, I don't want to prevent my son from having a life too. And so, like, you guys go there, but I said, just go out, but just remember you represent two things: our family name and this team. I said, don't find yourself in situations that you're going to embarrass yourself or the team.
Mhm.
And I said, if it's clean and it's fun and it's good, or if you think it might be a little bit just embarrassing, just, I don't want to know. I
Yeah.
said, just be the team.
Mhm.
So I think that was the first conversation I had with them. Go have fun with your team, but don't embarrass anybody and don't get in trouble. And
Yeah.
then just go do you. So I don't know how else I could have put it.
No,
It was
that's
just
good.
being
Yeah.
so
No, so that's what I'm just going along the mindset of maybe an outsider looking in, where it's, "Oh, that's interesting." Like, dad playing with the kids still,
yeah.
right? Which is this could be a Cinderella almost type story in a way, but,
If we win,
yeah.
it could be
But that
good.
could be, like, the complete opposite. That's crazy. Why doesn't dad
Yeah.
just let his kids play and enjoy watching them play? And
Yeah,
I'm sure you've had
I've
those
heard some of
thoughts.
that. Yeah, I've heard people. I try not to watch the comments. I think X has probably got the worst people for commenting. I did go down that rabbit hole, but some of them were like that, and they're like washed up and whatever. I was like, I don't need your approval
Mm,
to do what we're doing. I don't need your commentary. Hey, you shouldn't do this. Hey, this is my life and my story. When I tell my grandkids, my great grandkids, if I ever get any, this isn't about you or them. And it wouldn't matter if there was a story written about it or anything. They called me.
yeah.
I was just
And why do you even
right.
care? Right? What
Yeah, and that's what I told them. They called me.
yeah.
So
So
I'm like,
so
good to
that was a
know.
thing. You didn't necessarily seek this out. They're like, "Hey, you can you're capable of doing this," type thing? Is that what you mean? When
Yeah,
they
it just
when you say the school reached out or your son?
the school I talked to them and let them know that I was playing. So there's a guy, Chris, I knew. It's like, hey, it'd be funny. And I said, I don't know if you think this is cool or not. And then what happened was, the way the story kind of leaked out, it's Chris at the North Texas Daily. He's the club sports guy. And so
Mhm,
he wrote a story on it. I forwarded that story to because I've been doing the reels for the school for the last year or so. And so I had already connected with Varsity Club Lacrosse in the
mm,
past, and they had shared some of my content.
yeah.
And I was like, "Hey," I sent him over the story, and he goes, "I thought you were." He goes, I think he said it. He goes, "I thought you were the dad. So are you playing or are you just filming?" And I said, "No, I'm actually playing, and I'm actually the goalie. And most people think the goalies have there's something wrong with them if they want to do it." And I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, I didn't really want to do it. I just don't. There wasn't anything left. So,
less
but I'm
running
not
though,
afraid of it. Yeah.
less running.
Oh yeah. And that's what I said. Listen, I can
Just stay
run,
in your little
but
box, right?
yeah, yeah. I just
So
still physical, but
yeah, yeah.
wasn't afraid to try it, and I was like, I'll try it. But then after the first couple of practices, oh, this is starting to be painful.
Mhm,
So when they then that got there, then so Varsity Club posted a quick blurb on it, and then the North Texas posted it, and then that's when USA Lacrosse called me, and it was weird because they no this guy Justin he just texted me. I thought it was like a spam or something. It's,
mm,
USA Lacrosse is texting me. I was like, yeah, okay. I'm like, Sure. Yeah, we can talk. So we just talked something real quick and we had a good, super nice guy. And then he posted something and oh, that's what it was. When Varsity Club did Barstool Sports, they posted an article of their own. They didn't call me, I just made an article and their own version of my of the
Yeah.
story. And
And
I
that's
was
one
like,
you sent me. You've been on Barstool Sports, so that's a big
I
public.
didn't even know.
Yeah,
Somebody sent that to me.
yeah,
And I was like, that wasn't completely accurate and it was funny, but I was like, whatever.
kinda cool.
Yeah, I was like, I thought it was funny that I'm not partying. I'm like I'm online mostly. The only time I go to campus is to practice. And I've been
Mhm.
invited to parties, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not going. I'm
Yeah.
not going to that.
Time
I'll
for
get
the
a
kid
lot.
to get home too,
Yeah, I was
right?
like, I'll get a lot more lacrosse in if that happens. I'd be
And
divorced.
you're probably I don't even wanna know what's happening and
No, I
going on at
don't.
those things.
I tell them, man, I gotta work in the morning.
Mhm.
Going to work, as a matter of fact, and I had to start wearing like long sleeves in the summer because of the bruising.
Mm,
I don't want to like,
mm.
hey, what's wrong with this guy? Who's beating
Yeah.
him?
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
so, but I mean, it's so far, it's been a decent, um, I've had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
I had to remember myself. I got work to do. I had to tell myself something like, oh, I got school, right? This is about school. Refocus my energy on school because I don't want my grades slipping.
Yeah.
So
How long do you plan on doing the lacrosse part? Is that something a few years type thing or till
if
you're
as
done with
long as
school
if
or
I probably have one season. If I could, I'd probably do one more season,
okay.
maybe. I don't know. It's just been here. Sorry, my dog is.
How long is the full season?
We have 6 games left, so it's a spring
Couple
sport.
months?
Yeah, so I think we'll be done the end of April,
Mhm.
and then we'll have fall. There's fall ball. I don't know if we'll do anything over summer, but I'm taking summer classes too. So the whole thing is pretty accelerated. It's classes like every 8 weeks
Yeah.
through the whole year. I will have at least, man, if I did it, I could play 2 more seasons.
Mhm.
But that's not right by me. That's right by playing seasons,
Mm.
right? That would be just to play, which at this point, again, this whole journey wasn't to play. This whole journey was to go to school. And for me to extend my school out just to play would be wrong for my goal, right? It would be shifting towards this identity, which I'm not planning on being a lacrosse player. I plan on, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's hard to say at this
Maybe
point.
figure it
Well,
out as
we
you go
three,
type thing.
yeah, we're 3 games in. I feel good. My nothing hurts.
Yeah.
That's my skin hurts, but nothing is painful. And that's where people my age, I'm with them all the time, right? And my friends are like, oh, my knees, my back, my neck. I'm like, I don't have those same pains, right? That people talk
Absolutely.
about. I don't
Right.
take medicines. I take one pill a day, and it's not even a vitamin.
Mhm.
And it's basically for, I have hair loss, right? I take the supplement for the hair, and that's the only pill I take. And I take it's just once a day, it's a little pill. I don't take any pain meds. I don't do any vitamins. I probably should, but I try to eat a pretty balanced, healthy diet that's more paleoistic. So if it comes out of a bag or a box or a can, I generally don't eat that.
Mm.
It's mostly fresh foods when I can. I think that has a lot to do with the longevity of maybe genetics. A lot has to do with it. I don't think any of my brothers or my sister has physical ailments at their ages either. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
There you
That's
go.
right.
There
So
you go.
yeah, I don't know, man. So one more season could happen if the team allowed me. My goal would be to help promote and recruit players to make the
Mm.
program a legitimate on the map program
Okay.
would be my goal. Because I want the very best for them. I want W's. And if the W's mean that I'm sitting on the sidelines for a season and watching, then that's fine with me too.
Mhm.
So I want wins.
Yeah.
So
You
I want
you
wins for my son.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier about like your son, and so you're seeing what's going on in the age group of roughly what 19 to 22, 23. These kids
Yeah.
mostly are. You had mentioned earlier prior to all this that this is a club sport, not a
Mhm.
D1 type sport where there's a pressure of a scholarship or things like that. What are your thoughts around all that and the mental game and the mindset that these kids are going through just at the club level in college?
I think I like the club sport idea. And we
Mhm.
mentioned that, right?
Mhm.
because it does take some of that pressure off, and it involves more people. The A lot of these there I think our kids, my team takes it more seriously. The reason we went down to San Marcos with one sub is because we had 4 guys that were suffering in their academics. And we're like, "Hey, we don't tolerate that."
Mm, mhm,
Right? So we just, as a club, is, "Hey, we'd rather go down there and play with one sub than have guys failing." I don't think that's a requirement across the board, but what is it? If you're a student athlete, you're a student, and then you're an athlete, right? And I think the shift for me, and I won't say names or anybody, and of course, this isn't not anyone in my family. I have family that play at a NCAA level, right? I've heard of people directly that when they got to college, it was just the sport.
mhm,
There was no academics
mhm,
at that level. I One of the comments I had is that was on X was like, "This is a disgrace to the education system." I said, "I would say that this is an excellent opportunity for the education system, because now I'm literally back in school making better grades than I did 2 years ago, and I'm getting to play something,
mhm,
right?" And there's tons of clubs, right? There's all kinds of clubs, tennis clubs, pickleball clubs, cycling clubs, just name it, soccer clubs, softball, whatever, baseball clubs. They could do any of them if you felt that you could go in and do the job, right? I don't know if that you could do that at NCAA. And at that point, hey, we want this cream of the crop. We want them at this age. We want to do this. And don't worry about the academics. We have it covered. And not that I'm saying that everyone does that. I'm just saying that there have been stories that they're not really doing the academic part.
Just kinda
So,
skating by a little bit,
yeah, so I'm
just
like,
enough.
so what's the point? Where's the disgrace in the education system?
Mm,
It's not at this level because everyone is got to do their part. Would I like to practice for 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, watch film and immerse myself? Man, if I was 19, I probably could do it. And if I didn't have a job and wife and kids, I probably could do it. You
sure.
did it in college, right? So,
I didn't go to school.
yeah, so oh, yeah, you went
So,
right from
whole
high school
whole whole
to
different experience, yeah,
minor league, yeah,
yeah.
so, yeah,
Fully
and so
immersed at 17, right?
yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't even imagine the pressure from that to perform at that level, and I look at these guys trying to, like, yeah, I just think they have a little easier to
Mhm,
at a club level, the
mhm,
pressure. We want to win, right? We want to win. Do we have to win? I think that pressure and where you're at is, no, we have to win.
mhm.
Like, where does the end result is the trophy, right? I think we want it. I think we want it. I
Yeah.
think
It's like,
we're
even from a coach's, like, our coaches' jobs on the line if you don't win,
yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
there's a whole different dynamic of how
Yeah.
they treat you as an athlete in a
Yeah.
way,
You
right?
have to. And this is, I don't know, maybe the pressure is a little less because now that there's no job at stake. The only thing that was going to be at stake is if we had a 40-man roster, playing time
Mhm.
would be what would be at stake, right? And we would split it into D1 level, D2 probably have a kind of a varsity JV kind of
Sure.
situation, and we would move people around. I think next season I thought about maybe in a coaching situation I could probably help in a coaching situation, but if they'll have me play, if they wanted me to play, I'll probably do it. But we'll see where the school
Yeah,
is. If the school is my number one goal,
yeah.
and
We'll
to
see
get
what your
that
wife
done.
says too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She might think it will. Yeah, yeah, for sure. They have
Right.
me come, but I had a lot of people reach out that have been super positive. The guy at San Marcos, the guys there at Texas State were super nice. They were real cool with the whole situation. I just don't want to embarrass anybody.
Sure,
So,
sure.
or myself at that too. Yeah, that's the story. When from start to now is to know it just got out of hand, right? Just
No,
I get
I think it's cool, and it's something where if it was at like a D1 sport, if that were to happen, when it's like when you see stuff on the baseball side of things, when a celebrity comes and takes an at bat during spring
yeah,
training or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We used to have that during certain aspects of things, and
yeah,
people would be like, "Oh, that's so cool," and then other people are like, "What about the guy that's trying to get that job? Are you
yeah,
taking an at bat away from him or
right.
reps away from that guy?" That's just
What
opposite side of it.
there was a story like so this NIL stuff.
Mhm.
is new, right? And so it's confusing. There's lots of stuff that's going around about it. But I heard the story of one NIL is for everybody, from my understanding. It's name, image, likeness, right? So I mean, if someone, I guess, slapped my face on a or my name on a T-shirt and started selling it, they would owe me, right?
Mhm.
That's part of the game. But when some people are giving, I heard a story. I can't say what school it is, and I don't, but where a kid was offered, I don't know if they call it a salary or whatever, but money to play. And he said that he wanted also additional funds for a scholarship for his brother to be on the team as well.
Mm.
But I was like, but if he needs to try too, so you leveraged your talent to get
Mhm.
your brother on, not just to go to school as a scholarship, but to give that talent, right? So now whoever could have had that spot is no longer getting that spot. So there's, I don't know, maybe in this NIL stuff there needs to be some, I don't know, I'm not one for regulation or anything, but maybe some oversight of like how things, maybe some more rules of, hey, this happens. I know rules, we go down the thing of rules, it's like all these rules happen and no one knows what's going on and there's loopholes and whatever, but there's schools are competitive, right?
Mm.
So I don't know the answer to it. I just know that I feel like you. Someone gets in that bad, there's a celebrity. I'm coming in and I'm taking someone's spot. Thankfully, I took a spot as somebody I just wanted to earn it. And I think, like you said, some people, oh, here's some nepotism. My kids did not let me slide on anything. I
Sure.
promise you that. So I promise you that. Not, I grew up not letting them slide on anything. I raised them. I was like, we're going to be competitive because I know that me being competitive with them will in the right way because they're not sore losers and they're not prideful winners either. I have a good set of kids. So
Yeah.
mostly
Yeah.
part to their mom. Their mom did a good job. So
Well, I'm
most
sure
credit to her.
I'm sure you get to implement some of your wisdom and your mentorship and kinda your own personal coaching into that aspect of
Oh yeah.
things. That probably
I do
comes
my
for
best.
advice and stuff like that.
Wisdom. Wisdom, that's something you feel like you never quite have, right? In your 40s, I really wish I was older and wiser, but these most of these kids are pretty smart, but you're just like the application of that knowledge is wisdom, right? I played foosball for probably 2 years one time against this guy, and he beat me for 2 years straight,
Mhm.
right? And I just picked it up. And as I got better, so did he, right? And I explained that to one of the guys this week. I said, I just need to be playing that guy that's just better than me. And we want to, when we start looking at our schedule, I said, we want to play people like Texas State. We want to play people like Rice that are better than us because we do want to win, but we want to make sure that we're seeing what level of play that we can be at. We do that early, right, in the schedule, and that's like the strategy. We're much more competitive there. Yeah, so this guy, he had to beat me like 1,000 times easily.
Mhm.
He would keep score how many times he would win games till I finally got enough to win one. And that was
Mhm.
the ratio that he would do. And I just remember I finally beat that guy. But I beat him when it counted because we went into a tournament and I beat him when it counted.
Hmm.
And he wasn't very happy about that. But I was like, and I told him, I said, the only reason I'm any good is because I played you so many times. And he got better and he beat everybody. And because I was playing him getting better, I said, what we need to do is just play to the very best of our ability against people that who are just a little bit better than us. And then we're going to get better and we're going to get better. And so
Oh,
as a coaching, I can't give them the plays. I read their playbook and I said, even if I could run as what you guys do, I don't think I have the mental capacity to absorb this playbook and the all the stuff that you guys do and do all of that at one time. Maybe goalie is my spot, but I can't help. I don't know. I feel like maybe I do give a little bit of like encouragement to the kids. Okay, when sometimes coaches don't communicate with everyone the same way, and so if I see someone, usually if I see someone that's, hey, when he said this, you did this is how you make this happen. This is the small adjustments that you do to
mhm.
help. So
Yeah.
that's my contribution occasionally without stepping overboard. I don't want to. I'm not over coaching. I'm just
Mhm.
reinforcing what the
Yeah.
says.
Cool.
But yeah, that's the thing. really wanted to get know. I want to know more about your career. The whole, what's it like getting traded and just like picking up and said, I have to leave. Is it like Moneyball?
Oh yeah, it's just yeah, I mean you get the word like my experience was for example, I was in Pittsburgh. I only got traded one time. So I was in Pittsburgh. They someone taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, the manager wants to see you." So
Oh no.
I walked into the manager's office and you have the manager there, then you see the GM, assistant GM, like 3, 4, 5
Oh,
guys. And you're like,
perfect.
"Huh." And the trading deadline was happening and stuff
Yeah.
people could be moving here any day. I believe it was the GM who said, "Hey, we've made a move and we've traded you to the Cubs." And so
Yeah.
leading up to that point, they had stopped playing me. It was about where I went from being a starter to up and down starting. Like I
Right.
would start some games and not. And then all of a sudden I just stopped playing all of a sudden
Oh,
up until this point. So it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 days in a row. So I was like, I was really actually upset because I wasn't playing. Um,
they're keeping you marketable. They were making sure you were
who
healthy and
knows? Like
moving.
maybe
Yeah.
was a discussion. Hey, we're maybe the Cubs call. Hey, we're interested in Chad. So maybe, but they don't tell like the team doesn't tell you that. So all of a
Right.
sudden, I'm just not starting, and I'm like, "What the heck is going on?" So that thought creeps in. Oh, maybe there's something going on.
Yeah.
Um, and then they literally just said, "Hey, you've been traded to the Cubs." What was the trading deadline's August 31st, I believe.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
July 31st. Excuse me.
Oh, because yeah, because you got August, September. That's like the run
Yeah,
for the. Yeah.
yeah. So they're and it's basically, hey, you have there's a window you have a day
Yeah.
or two to get over there, and so literally the next day,
So it's
I'm
like early
traveling.
2000s, right? So you're like, there's definitely no.
2002, that was, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
at that time, there's no shot for the Cubs to go to the World Series. That was like
Actually,
that.
they were the next year. So
That was
here's
that was the one where they caught the ball, like
yeah,
kid caught the ball.
the next year was the whole Cubs, Marlins, and the
Yeah.
so that I was a year away from that. I think that's right, if I'm not mistaken. But the team was good. So I get there now and that's this is Sammy Sosa's he's become who he has and I was a Cubs fan growing up. So this is a cool moment for me and but I was definitely regulated to the bench in a fourth, fifth outfielder type and but yeah, no, it's cutthroat if you will. Hey, we've traded you.
It's a business.
It's been awesome. I
Yeah.
spent what 95 was when I was drafted all the way up to 2002. So it was like 8 seasons roughly of just minor league and all that ball
Wow.
and it was like a see you later type thing because this happened like right before the game was about
Right.
to start. And I just said goodbye to some guys and I was like glad at the time because I was like
Yeah.
it's probably best for me
Yeah.
to move
Oh,
on.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, just you got to go. It's not like, oh, we're gonna go a different direction. Good luck. They're like, no, you're going over there. Like
Yeah.
what?
The funny story behind that is so I was traded for Darren Lewis from the cut.
Yeah.
He had to be close to 40. So he was on his last
Yeah.
leg, if you will. And I ain't going to Pittsburgh, and he ended up retiring.
Oh, he retired.
So
That's right.
he just shut it down, and I think they got a minor leaguer or something out of it. But yeah, interesting, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, you but when you're traded, you got to be there
So
basically the next day or
you
two.
played with Dave Justice and that era or is
No.
that before then?
Yeah, especially his like all his best years. I don't know how long he played.
Yeah.
He was probably done more in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
maybe late 90s.
Yeah, when did I stop? I got married in 2000, so life was a bit of a whirlwind and blur for several years. So it was like we were pretty we didn't have any money, so we didn't have cable. If we didn't watch the Rangers, that's the only time we watched if the Rangers were playing, right?
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
that show? It was just Ranger stuff. Always Rangers, whatever we could get on local TV. Now you can barely get the Rangers on local TV now. It's was that Bally's took everything over. I was like,
Oh, okay.
man, that's just like out here, like as a kid, you should be able to watch your home team in your market at any given if they're playing, but they
Yeah,
don't have that anymore.
yeah,
So which
that's,
is really
who knows if they'll ever get to that point. I think yeah, you got the black
not
I
never
we have I'm in Vegas, and we get blacked out from the Angels, the
same.
Diamondbacks, and, like, the Rockies, and the
Oh,
like, we're not even the same state. It's D Dodgers,
it's
all this stuff.
that's not right.
Yeah.
I
There's
just
certain stations that will pick it up occasionally.
yeah, just to do like a you have to get like a VPN or something and do the roundabout way. But I'm like, at the end of the day, man, I just wanted to I am really much of a player than a watcher. If I'd rather experience it myself than watch someone else. I understand, like, hey, I can watch and learn because I do. I'll go and watch YouTube. YouTube's been the best. Like going like getting like drills and watching highlights and things like that. Hey, let's go play. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
Let's grab instead of sitting around watching on Sunday afternoon, let's go throw the ball. Those types of things do a lot more doing than watching. That's just when we were kids, we got locked out of the house. You
Stay
go out and
outside.
you're like, you're out. And then you come home when it gets dark. And
Yep.
so we were always doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was encoded with it or learned it through necessary process
Hmm.
of my
Yeah.
parents telling me to do it. But that was like, I'm just always like to do. That's my, I think my wife's biggest complaint is, can you ever sit still?
Mm.
Man, and just this time I think I bit off a lot of the apple. You know what I'm saying? Like I bit a lot. This is the first time I'm going, oh no. I said, yeah, this one's tough. Like I have
Mhm.
a exam tonight that's due by midnight. So it's in a class that I'm struggled in, but it just, I think my semesters are 8 weeks and this is week 7. So man, I'm just like, at this point I have good grades.
Mhm.
I said I can pretty much do average on the next couple grades and be like, I'm still keeping my grades. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty the resources that kids have these days for school, there's no reason they have set them up for success academically.
Mhm.
There's no the calendars notifications right on your phone. If you can't miss a deadline for anything. And when I was going to school, what in 97, yeah, 97, 98. Yeah, if it wasn't written down on the calendar, it's like, oh, you missed your deadline.
Yeah.
You have to wait till next semester. You got to wait. Nowadays, it's like,
Technology's way better for all that,
oh
right?
my, oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's no reason. Like, how did you miss it? It literally pops up in your phone like every 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And how did you miss the exam? Oh, I got to get to this class or this class. No, everything is just like super organized to make sure that you're successful at,
Yeah.
at completing. Is when there was this one when kids like, why didn't you finish before? It's like, you don't understand what it was like. Everything was on paper. Like there
The
was no
dog
internet.
literally ate my homework, right?
Yes. And I said it was like we had to write them and occasionally the college I was going to, we had computers, but we had to use them there. And we didn't have laptops or do it from our phones. It was just like it was much it was the same struggle everyone did, but it wasn't as resourceful as it is now. It's like
Mhm.
getting information. Oh, you go and you leave, and you're like, oh, I have to go back to the school I forgot to sign up for classes. And if you don't do it right, then you miss them for next semester. I was like, so that's why people have these 5 and 6 year degrees. It wasn't because they weren't smart enough and it took forever. It's like sometimes the classes were full. So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
I don't think of a better time that I could be doing this, actually. But then my wife did tell me, she goes, if you don't do this now, and 3 years from now, you're gonna wish you'd done it 3 years ago. I
It's
was
good that
like, I
she's
don't
supportive because it probably wouldn't have worked if she didn't was on board
know.
with you.
She was the one that she was like against it. And then she goes, you mean you can play with the boys? And like, yeah, she goes, I think you should do it. I said, so you don't care about my education, but you think I should be playing with them? I said, no. She was joking, of course, but she thought it was funny. It was supposed to be, like I said, it's this whole thing started out as a joke. Kind of like, wouldn't that be funny if?
Yeah,
So,
sure. Sure.
so I didn't know it was going to be that big of a deal, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's cool.
yeah,
It's something
if
different,
it
you know,
is,
it's
yeah, if it inspires people to get out of their shell and do something,
mhm.
join this sport or whatever sport, or go back to school if or complete a project, or then if my story inspires someone to do that, that's just a kind of like the icing on the cake. It's just a little extra that says, "Oh, I'm glad I was able to help you indirectly."
Right.
I'm not like I said, we started out like I'm not telling someone to do what they need to do. But if my story inspires you to do something, then awesome. That's great.
Love it,
I don't
man.
know how many people are looking. I don't know how many people are looking at that, but if they are, then that's good. One
Well, yeah.
person, it's right. I'll be
I'm
doing
sure
this.
there's a lot of guys our age that have their unfulfilled thoughts and ideas of things they wish they could have done, and that's a
Yeah,
pretty unique experience to go back
yeah,
and to fulfill that. So I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. I
So
appreciate that.
cool,
So
man.
I
Well,
do
hey,
got to
dude,
jump though.
I appreciate the time. I've kept you here for quite a while, so I appreciate you
Oh, it's
coming
fun.
here and sharing this
Yeah,
info. And best of
Well,
luck to you,
thanks for
man.
having me.
All that.
Thanks for having me on it.
That's great.
Hope people will listen.
Yeah. It was
So,
something
and
different.
is it okay if I invite people to your parent
100%.
page, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
I wasn't completely sure, and I had a couple parents that I thought would benefit from it, so
Yeah.
I'd help you grow your page.
Yeah, appreciate it,
So
man.
cool.
Okay, bud. Well,
All
take
right.
care of yourself, and
All right.
I'm sure we'll be keeping in touch quite a bit.
Yes, sir, man. All
Okay.
right. Thanks,
Take care of
Chad.
yourself. All right.
Catch you
We'll
later.
see you.